G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/Entitled People. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to tackle that like button like Steve Owen would tackle a bloody crocodile. Maybe even chuck a few Aussie flags down in the comments, who knows? With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody entitled Karens. Posted by user Tree Bark Sandwich, titled, "My boyfriend feels entitled to control my hair color." Recently, I dyed my hair blue since I don't have to go to work for a while. It's something I've always wanted to do but never had a good opportunity to. My now ex-boyfriend hates dyed hair and would have stopped me if I told him I was dyeing it. When he found out, he demanded I change it back to blonde. I told him how I hated the way I looked as a blonde, and this was something I have been wanting to do for a while. He leaves and comes back a while later with a bottle of blonde hair dye and demanded I change it. I told him that I wasn't going to, and he accuses me of not caring what he thinks. Weird one that. After an argument, he hits me across the face and storms out. Now that is just abuse. It's just literal abuse right there, and that is never okay. You've got to wonder why he's now the ex-boyfriend. Posted by user FredZRed, titled, "Karen demands her meal for free but gets instant karma instead." This story is about my mother. Yes, she is a mega Karen, and unfortunately, I've had to put up with her most of my life. This happened when I was a teenager, around 15 years old. We went out for dinner at a small local restaurant that did all-you-can-eat buffets. I should mention that my mother has long, thick, and curly hair, and she never ties it up. Important for later. We got our dinner and sat down to eat, and all was going well. I was surprised at how well my mum was doing. By this point, she should have found something to complain about by now. And then it happened. She looked down at her plate and said, "Oh my god, look at this! There's a flippin' hair in my food!" Me, knowing exactly what she was doing, says, "Mum, that's your hair?" "Ugh, no, that's not my hair." The way she was talking was obviously dramatized for effect, and she was beginning to get louder and drawing attention from other diners. She continued to cause a scene and get more irritating, drawing more attention to herself and, inadvertently, me. I wanted to sink into my chair from embarrassment. Not long after she started her fake tantrum, the waitress comes over to see what the problem was. She says, "How's it all going here? What seems to be the problem?" "Well, there's hair in my food." Okay. Mum getting furious at the lack of care from the waitress. "Well, then what are you going to do about it? We deserve to have our meals for free. This is horrible customer service." The waitress, with a smirk across her face, says, "I'm sorry you're not satisfied with our food. Would you like to speak to the chef?" Mum, looking smug that she thought she won, says, "Yes, I would." I was confused at this point, not understanding why the waitress didn't seem to care, even though I knew my mum was lying. But it soon became clear why. A few minutes later, a man came out from the back of the store and walked right up to our table, and my mum's face went ghost white and her jaw dropped. The chef was bald. Not balding, but so bald that you could see your reflection on his shiny scalp. The chef says, "Hi there, how are things this evening? What seems to be the problem?" "Well, there's a hair in my food." Chef is smiling and says, "I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am, but unless I have miraculously grown a full head of hair on my walk over to your table, you can see I am very much bald. And as I am the only chef working tonight, that is clearly not my hair." Mum says nothing. Chef says, "Is that all for now? I need to get back to my work." Without waiting for an answer, he turned and walked back to the kitchen, but not before I mouthed sorry to him as he left. I knew better than to say anything to my mum after this, but I had a smile on my face for the rest of the night. Our next post is by user Scrippin, titled, "Mother expects me to split my stimulus check with my entitled sibling." To preface, I just turned 19 years old, and my sibling is 20. I wasn't planning on getting a stimulus check due to the fact that I thought I was considered a dependent due to not having a job and such. So I was just living my life, waiting for when I can get my GED and a job. 2 days ago, my mum was cooking herself dinner, and I walked into the kitchen to get myself something. She asked me if I would be upset if I didn't get all of my stimulus check, and she took some of it to pay for my GED and driver's education courses. I said that I would be a little upset. I wanted to make that decision for myself to feel like a bit of an adult, and that I thought I wasn't even going to get one. Next thing I know, she came back in from her car, angrily handed me my check, and said that I better be responsible with it. Now, call me unreasonable, but that was a little rude. But me being me, I just brushed it off, made myself dinner, and deposited it through my bank's mobile app. Yay! I got my money for important adult things, right? Wrong. It's been 2 days now, and my mother just told me in front of my entitled sibling and dad that I should split my check with my entitled sibling. Now, I like to think I'm a pretty generous person with a big heart. I love helping people out and all, but my entitled sibling is the least responsible person I have ever met. They spend all of their money on weed and knickknacks with no purpose, especially since I need to spend the money on important things that will help me move out of this hellhole. I said no. After this, my mother went to bed. She said goodnight to my father and my entitled sibling, but not me. Purposefully. It was one of the most petty things I've ever witnessed. My entitled sibling has apparently been complaining about not getting a stimulus check and is especially upset that I did. They're calling it unfair. I think it's perfectly fair because I didn't decide the rules for everything. I shouldn't have to shell out $600 to a person that's going to spend it on illegal things, quote unquote. Am I the one being unreasonable? Should I just eat it and give them the $600? Or should I actually stick up for myself for once and spend it on things I need? Any advice would be appreciated. And yes, people, I have covered that one before, but I'm covering it again because, update, mother expects me to split my stimulus check with entitled sibling. So, this is an update for my other post from a few weeks ago. I was going to give my sibling $300, and so were both of my parents, so things would be fair. Now, my parents just told me that they were going to take back their $600 from my entitled sibling and take the $300 from me themselves. I said no, obviously, and now my parents are upset with me. On top of everything, I have my GED testing tomorrow, so I'm already stressed, and now they just dropped this on me. My dad is even trying to strong-arm me out of it by saying, well, rent just went up, among other things. He thinks he deserves the money for raising me. Am I crazy or am I being unreasonable? They all seem to think I'm the one in the wrong. Am I just living with a bunch of crazy people? Edit, by rent just went up, he doesn't actually mean that my rent is going up. I thankfully do not pay rent to my parents. They told me that as long as I'm trying to better myself, I can live here for free. Sorry for the confusion. Didn't each of those parents get their own stimulus checks? Why are they trying to take OP's money? That is absolutely unreasonable. What's the sibling gonna do? These are all questions here. That sibling's not gonna be happy. He's probably gonna react. What a bunch of mental basket cases these people are. Posted by user Nathan5660, titled, Person took stuff out of my shopping basket. Grrr. So this happened a few weeks ago, but I was wandering around Lidl in a post-depressive state. I wander around without a set goal on what to buy. I find stuff I like and I chuck it in my basket, more as a distraction rather than actual food shopping. I grab some sweets, crisps, and some fizzy pop, and head over to the till, and as usual, there's a big queue, and one dang till open. Ugh, am I right? I get to the back of the queue just as a new till opens. Typical. So go to the newly opened till. I'm third in the queue now, and due to the social distancing sticker things on the floor, I couldn't put my stuff on the conveyor belt. So, this woman starts taking my stuff out of my basket and putting it into her basket. I say, miss, that stuff is mine from my basket. Can you please put it back? She says, it's not yours till you pay for it. So I take my stuff back, move forward, and put my stuff on the conveyor. She starts screeching like a demon that I stole her stuff. I ignore her and stare at the till staff member blank-faced. Till staff says, Miss, please stop shouting. I saw you take the items from his basket. He simply took them back. He took nothing of yours. Why are people like this sometimes? Are they just stupid, or are they just brought up as spoilt brats? I guess I don't know the answer to this one. Posted by user Baron von Lark, titled, Entitled Tourists Demands We Speak Russian or Else. Hey Reddit, English isn't my first language, so sorry for any misspellings. Any corrections are welcome. A little backstory. I live in an Eastern European country which has been invaded by Russia many times over my country's history, and we still have a large population, about 30% of people who identify themselves as Russians, not my country's nationality. Most of the country speaks Russian as a second language, but the younger generation speak English, and a good percentage of them don't speak Russian at all. I have had many interactions with people who have been living here for decades and still refuse to learn our local language. Tourists, for the most part, are understanding and try to speak English, or very simple Russian to interact. Now to the story. I used to work in a very popular restaurant in the capital. We served local cuisine and a super large selection of local beers on tap, so we were a very popular destination for tourists and locals equally. One day, somewhere between lunch and dinner time, a group of 5 to 6 older Russian ladies came in, were very rude when we greeted them in our usual hello in our language and English, went to seat themselves, and waiter went over to serve them. The waiter speaks perfect Russian, but he had a habit of deciding if he spoke it to a customer or not. I have many stories about this guy and the a-hole he was, and planning on sharing them sometime. And he, seeing the ladies were being rude, acted like he didn't understand a word. We all heard the ladies starting to yell when he gave them menus in English. Only had them in our native language and English, by the way. And saw him standing there, his best server smile on his face as the ladies were yelling profanities. He politely smiled and said, "I'll give you a moment to decide," then continued to go around and telling every staff member to act like we don't speak Russian either. The ladies were speaking amongst themselves about how rude it was the server didn't speak Russian in a country that belongs to Russia. How dare we? This got us all mad, and we continued to just smile and wave whenever the ladies came to speak with us. This escalated to the point that they were yelling profanities in full volume and throwing menus and napkins all over as they were leaving. The server went up to them, acting confused and asking if there was a problem, to which one of them went close up to him and yelled in his face something amongst the lines of, "Your mothers should have raised all of you better. Not speaking Russian in Russia is a crime. Your boss will hear about this and you will get fired." As they were halfway to the door, the server grinned and said in perfect Russian, "Say hello to the motherland, you old witches. Don't you dare to come here again." The look on their faces were priceless. P.S. Nobody got fired. Our boss doesn't speak Russian and doesn't care for ignorant people. Screw the old ladies. Yeah, it's 2020. We ain't standing for that. Our next post is by user Kitty M. Bunny, titled, Discipline Your Unborn Child. Never heard that one before. So another post on here reminded me of this incident from when I was pregnant with my eldest son, who's now 13. So I thought I'd post it here. So when I fell pregnant with my eldest, little me was 5'2", a UK size 6, my hubby is 6'5", aka 2 inches shorter than Darth Vader. So I started getting bigger early on. I didn't even get to my second scan before I looked ready to pop. Seriously, we actually asked them to check that I wasn't having twins. I was wearing a UK size 22 jumper and there wasn't much room before it would be stretched skin tight. About 15 to 16 weeks, the baby started kicking. Boy did he have a kick on him, because I flinched and my hands went to where he kicked and staff came running out of the offices to check that I was okay. Somehow, when I explained, none of them asked to feel it. I'll never understand why strangers ask, or worse, the ones that just start touching. Some even demand to know where is best to feel baby kick, without knowing you or asking. That's not okay, just in case anyone wasn't sure. Anyway, a couple of them said I probably wouldn't feel it again for ages. If only. My son would be throwing a party in there or something when he'd heard Daddy's voice. He would settle once hubby rested his hand on bump. Sometimes I'd fall asleep, phone on bump, because after the initial excitement at Daddy's voice, it would settle him. I even vividly remembered having to get a few food bits in and walking home, realizing baby hadn't kicked in 20 minutes, and being worried. Because baby would kick a lot, and hard. Remember how crappy phone cameras were back in 2006? I sent my hubby a video message of baby kicking, where you could clearly see bumps popping up and down on baby bump. So one day, at about 5 months pregnant, I'm in the canteen eating my lunch, and got summoned to HR. Now, I knew enough not to go in alone. Our company had recently changed sickness policy. Without changing contracts, that meant if you had more than one illness in a 12-month time period, you faced disciplinary action. If in 3 months you had a quarter or more of the yearly allowance, disciplinary action. First, a 6-month ban, second, 12 months. I think third was firing. So either my friend or I would volunteer to be the witness, something HR weren't happy about people having. In fact, they didn't want people knowing they had a right to a witness. So we walk in. My manager, HR staff manager, and HR manager are there. The HR manager would only be there if no one else was available or if it was serious, possibly firing issues. Great. So they explained because of the nature of the complaint they had decided that it needed to be dealt with immediately, which is why they interrupted my break. However, another staff member had made a complaint about my presence in the canteen and that I had prevented him from eating. I had done no such thing, so obviously tried to explain. I was told not to interrupt again as they didn't want to have to escalate the matter further, especially given your condition. Somehow, at the exact moment that she said condition, the HR manager smelt either fresh dog crap or a pit of eternal stench. No one else did, but this was someone a few years younger than me, and I was only 27, so it's not like me being engaged to my now hubby and not married yet was the problem, right? That would be ridiculous and unprofessional. And I distinctly remember her mentioning this situation had to be dealt with professionally. So, reprimanded and put in my place, I waited to find out how I had stopped someone eating in the canteen, something their complaint had stopped me doing. So, we're even, right? Apparently this was a delicate situation that maybe wouldn't be appropriate to discuss in front of a man. Now, besides being sexist, there's no way I'm asking him to leave now. Seriously, he's still a close and good friend. How could I make him wait to find out what I'd done? They explained due to my pregnancy, especially given that it was high risk. Strange, that's only on the medical file the company nurse has, and besides me, her and my midwife, no one else knew. Surely, none of them broke the lock and looked at the file. For anyone wondering, my manager did exactly that. Another story for another day. So they didn't want to cause me unnecessary stress. Then get to the point and in future, don't interrupt my lunch. HR manager says, so, we can't tell you who it was, for confidentiality reasons, and would appreciate neither of you discuss this with each other or anyone else once you leave. But a complaint has been made concerning your condition. There's that stench again. Maybe it's a tic-tac when she says that word. It's been brought to our attention that while attempting to eat his lunch, this co-worker was constantly seeing movement from there, pointing vaguely at Bump. That it was extremely noticeable and not something he wanted to be forced to see. Obviously, our opinions are limited as we can't allow you to eat in a room on your own due to health and safety regulations. So, not because it's stupid. So we felt it best to have you here to make you aware, so you can take action to resolve the issue. I say, to resolve the issue? Someone saw what exactly? What is it that you think I have done? Oh, I knew, but one of them was going to have to say it. The HR manager, clearly ticked off that I'm not playing by her rules, says, obviously he saw your child moving or kicking or whatever. Bless, my friend is trying not to laugh, while also clearly ticked off, and well, the ridiculous situation is getting to be a bit much. I say, so I'm here why exactly? There were empty seats he could have sat elsewhere. Are you seriously suggesting other staff must move because of your actions? My friend says, well, what do you want her to do? Put her unborn baby in timeout? I say, as the one whose kidney is being used as a football and if feeling all those kicks, I'd appreciate them not being noticeable too. That way I wouldn't feel like a punch bag and could get a full night's sleep. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do, while whoever complained can sit further away or just look away. HR manager says, I'm disappointed that neither of you are taking this seriously. He was the other side of the room and could clearly see. He said it looked like something out of Alien. Look, other than asking my baby not to do it, which is completely pointless at this point, there is nothing I can do. This whole thing is ridiculous. I have absolutely no idea why I'm here. All you had to do was point out that there's nothing I can do about it, while he could stop staring at me from across a room. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to my lunch. Hopefully, it's still edible. HR manager, so you're refusing to do anything? The look on everyone's faces must have finally been enough for her to realize she was being ridiculous. I guess they don't teach them to use common sense wherever she did her HR degree. She did prove why you don't put someone in charge a week after they graduate though. Damn it, baby, do I have to come in there and calm you down myself? I swear to God I will pull you out. Posted by user TreeStar2018, titled, Entitled Mum is mad she can't keep clothes that don't belong to her. Another tale of entitled daycare parents from a daycare director. At the daycare I work at, we currently have a client who would never bring in spare clothes for her child, 5 and female. We would always tell her that her child needed the spare clothes, but Mum would always forget to bring them. Or she's on her cell phone when she picks up and doesn't attempt to listen to what they're trying to tell her. When the child would have accidents, we would put her in spare clothes that belong to the daycare and tell Mum she needs to bring them back. We stopped doing that about a month ago because the mum wouldn't ever bring us our spare clothes back. So we started calling her every time her child had an accident and told her she needed to bring her some clothes for her child to change into. Finally, Mum started bringing in an extra set of clothes because she was tired of us calling her at work. On Friday, when she dropped her child off, we noticed that the child was wearing some of the daycare's spare pants that she has previously been sent home in. We checked the child's cubby, and she had a spare skirt because Mum finally started to listen to us about her needing spare clothes. So I told her teacher to have her change into her skirt, and we washed the pants that belonged to the daycare. When Mum came to pick her up, she asked why she was in different clothes. We told her that the pants were ours, and so we changed her into some of her own. Mum had a royal fit about how unprofessional we are, how we don't care about her child, and that we should never have asked for our pants back. We told her we reminded her several times about us needing our spare clothes back. She told us that she is too busy at night picking up her kid to fully listen to us. We obviously have a lot of spare clothes, and that we didn't really need them back. We told her we have a limited amount of spare clothes, and that is why we kept reminding her she needed to bring them back. She then stormed out and said she would never bring her kid back to us if we were going to make a big fuss over her keeping our spare clothes. It's a shame she forgot she has to give a 2-week notice before removing her child. I'm sure she will just love the tuition owed letter she will be receiving from me this week. What? No, what do you mean I have to bring these clothes back? I can't just steal from you? No! Posted by user Lord I like that name, Lord LaserDD. A particularly awful pet situation. Trigger warning, animal abuse/death. Okay. When I was homeless, I was lucky enough to have a friend who let me sleep on his couch for a while. The next door neighbors were just awful people, entitled all to hell and Bible thumpers to the 3rd degree. I was out one morning, having a smoke, and I watched their brats tormenting their dog, a sweet female mutt. The poor thing was tied up to the tree in the backyard, a new development from last time I had seen them. The kids were flicking her with sticks. The dog was curled up in a ball and just taking it. I went over, knocked on the door, and told the father about it, and he lost his crap, rambling about kids being kids, and it's just a dumb dog. I walked away in a huff and went back to the porch. A little bit later, the kids were back out and back up to it, so I filmed it for a bit and screamed at them to knock it off. And here comes Pops again, hooting and hollering about me yelling at his kids. I told him the brats need to be taught a lesson, and I was calling the sheriff about the abuse. The dad stormed off, and while I was on the phone, I saw him walk into their backyard. I didn't have a chance to say anything before he shot the dog. He didn't even have the compassion to make it one shot. No, he had to shoot 2 more times before she stopped screaming. Oh, that is horrific. I booked it back inside at this point and told the operator what had just happened and that I was afraid for my life. A deputy showed up shortly after, and the dad was arrested. Not sure what for. My guess would be discharging a firearm in a residential area. He was yelling and ranting about how he'd rather the dog dead than let someone take her. I have no idea if he was charged with anything. I ended up moving in with my father a week later. What's wrong with people, man? I don't even know if I'm allowed to have that up on the channel. That's a really sensitive topic, but I guess this video will test that. And our last post is by user Von Kittenstein, titled, "Is an in-law still a parent? The story of I Know the Owner." So, a few weeks ago, me and a friend went to a yay quarantine is lifted happy hour together. She apologized, but she said she has to invite her mother-in-law because the woman, entitled parent, had wanted to go to the same restaurant the same day and might have just shown up anyway. We were there for maybe 15 minutes and got our drinks and a basket of bread and placed our orders for appetizers, seated indoors in nice air conditioning. In comes entitled parent. We see her, and my friend, let's call her Emily, waves at her. Entitled parent waves back, but it's still at the hostess stand for a good 10 minutes? A long time when you're sitting there trying to wonder what she's doing while we have a table. The restaurant was for sure busy as hell and had a wait. The poor hostess looked disgruntled. Finally, entitled parent comes over and sits down. They say, "I asked for a patio table, and I told her I know the owner, they always take care of me." We were uncomfortable because we hadn't wanted one or to go outside at all, but she didn't ask us, she just went for it. I honestly knew this was going to get worse. 10 or 15 minutes later, she's twisting around and making a show of how she's looking for someone. "I always sit at the bar here, I never pay for my drinks, they always buy my drinks for me. I think that's the owner right there with his friends." She points to a group of people standing and laughing. "His name is John, I think?" The waiter comes over. She complains we still haven't been resat. He says he will check on it. She says, "I know the owner. I want a table over by them now. Just pull some chairs." The waiter tried to explain that they're only allowed to seat every other table and there weren't free ones available. She looks indignant and says, "I'm going to go over there and ask him myself." Waiter leaves. She starts complaining to us about something or other. Emily had warned me that entitled parent is a bit much. She waves again at a passing waiter that isn't our guy. He comes over. She says, "Is that the owner over there?" "Yes, that's him." "What's his name again?" "Mark." So she jumps up and runs over there and pretends like she knows him with her, "Oh my god, haven't seen you in forever, so good to see you." She didn't even know his name. We were forced by her to move to a table next to his group where he didn't once speak to her, but she kept twisting to make eyes at him. Even bought him a shot. He didn't accept it. The bill for the end of the night was $370. Both Emily and entitled parent ordered food to go for their husbands. I had the waiter split my check off of theirs. Entitled parent insisted she pay the rest herself without Emily pitching in. Emily was uncomfortable but got the tip instead. Sounds good, right? Like a generous ending? No. Emily told me a week later that entitled parent emailed the restaurant and threw a fit, saying the bill was wrong and how dare they mischarge her, and it was so unprofessional, and how the 3 of us couldn't have racked up that much. We were there for 4 hours and they both ordered premium stuff from the non-happy hour menu. It was 100% accurate. I'm so embarrassed, I never want to ever go anywhere with her again. G'day there guys, Outro Markee here. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Now with that said, we have some special mentions. Everyone that signed up for my Patreon, everyone that's a channel member, you guys all know who you are. I'm going to start putting you on screen in the near future. Sorry, I'm very lazy, but I do love each and every one of you, and you all know that. If you want to join, there is links down in the description below. If you want to be a channel member, there's a join button next to subscribe. It helps me out immensely. Also, I have a second channel that does memes. It's called Markee too. It should be on screen here now. If you like memes and you want to laugh with me, it's some not so politically correct content all the time. Hope you enjoy it. Click on the screen, subscribe, and enjoy the memes. That's all I have for today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.